This podcast is brought to you in part by our wizards on Patreon. If you would like to support positive content, you can head over to become a wizard at patreon.com/MissMaryLou. That's patreon.com/MissMaryLou. An unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates. Okay, so let's back it up a little, Socrates. I know, one way of interpreting that quote is maybe, a little extreme. So I definitely don't support that. However, I like the sentiment, right? So I think of living the unexamined life, not reflecting and learning and growing from things throughout your life that happen or don't happen, not taking that time to be introspective and soak it in, etc., etc. It's not really, you're not really living, are you? And this is something that I remember there was a time in my life where I didn't really think about this at all, but maybe I didn't really have to think about this as much, or I didn't feel as compelled to do this as much, but I mean, we talk about reflection and self-reflection and learning and listening to your body and all of these things on this podcast all the time. And it's just a really integral part of how I experience the world at this point. Of course, it's important not to be stuck in that reflective state for all the time because you will miss what's happening. But, balance, just like everything else. Balance. Thank you, Socrates, for being so astute. Hello, and welcome to another episode of PositiviTea. This is the feel-good podcast where we give you good vibes by the spoonful. I am your host, Miss Mary Lou Ryan, and it is freaking fantastic to be back on the podcast for you all today. I'm doing pretty well today. I've had a good day so far. I'm still in the new office. If you were with me last week on YouTube, you would have seen this beautiful setup already. And this is not like a place in my home I set up specifically to film. Nah, it's just a place I set up because I like it and now I'm filming in it. So I'm gonna move straight onto the tea I'm drinking today. Happy midsummer, happy solstice to everybody. And we've actually had very mild weather here in Los Angeles this June, which I am very thankful and I am fully aware is about to change. But I'm still doing iced tea. I've been trying to be good and less wasteful, and even if I'm only making leaves for 1 cup of hot tea, I'll put extra water on and re-brew the leaves right away at least once. So that way, I just stick the tea in the fridge and then it's iced tea. It's magical, really. This is a black tea, no surprises there, but this one has fermented apricot and peach and lemongrass and magic, basically. It's just peaches in summer. Of course, it's a thing I associate because where I'm from, peaches become available in summer, and that just having that in a tea, I always gravitate towards brews like this when the weather is warmer. It just makes me feel happy and refreshed, and there's always that little hint of nostalgia, right? When you get peaches when you're a kid and you bite into it and it's just so ripe and so sweet that the juice just dribbles down to your elbows and you make a gosh darn mess of yourself. Eating peaches, even as an adult, is still an ordeal, right? I get out a whole cloth napkin ordeal every time I eat a peach now because I know about the experience of eating a peach. So drinking it in a glass is kind of cheating where, you maybe get to be a little bit more elegant about the whole thing, but still enjoy it just as much. I hope you are all enjoying a beverage as well. I love when you all tell me what you're drinking, what you're up to when you're listening. I just kind of figure us all in different bits of our days, whether it's with a cup of coffee, a cup of tea on the way to work, doing the laundry, or just sitting and listening. I just like it, just makes it feel so cozy and so happy. So I hope whatever you're doing right now is made just a little bit brighter by tuning in. So let's get on to the self-care experimento. I've been playing a lot of the new Harry Potter game, and I feel like it's just a lot of Latin with the word "oh" at the end. Anyway, does that surprise anybody that I'm playing a Harry Potter game? No, probably not. Last week, I talked about removing my cell phone from the bedroom, and I have to say, it has just quickly become another habit. I slipped into this a lot easier than I did last time. My new alarm clock is still kicking, it's still working, so I can still get up on time and do what I need to do. And also, not like setting multiple alarms and just being like, oh, I have another alarm, so I'll just do this. It kind of forces me to get out of bed right away because it is an analog alarm clock. And I think this is actually better. I just feel better if I get up when my alarm goes off the first time, as opposed to just like essentially hitting snooze a bunch on my phone because I've already set 4 alarms that are 10 minutes apart or whatnot. So that has been kind of an unexpected thing. I am pretty sure there's some research about this, but I haven't gone into it in so long that I'll just say like I'm feeling good about it. Not to mention, I have gotten much farther in rereading Lord of the Rings. So that just brings me so much joy. It's such a homey story for me, and it makes me so happy. I mean, my kittens are named Meriadoc, Brandybuck, and Peregrine Took, for crying out loud. So I obviously get a lot of joy out of that. So I like that not being on my phone has then opened up more time that I thought I didn't have to do things that I really feel more fulfilled doing. And another thing that I have found that has been helping a lot with this is I just moved my freaking charger out of the room. I now have a little basket actually in this work area. The basket has like a power strip in it where I plug things in for this office, and it lives in that basket at night. I plug it in there if I need to charge it during the day. Then I just plug it in there and I leave it and I walk away. I think having physical space really helps a lot. And I have some ideas to have a cute phone charging station, of course. Something that is pretty to look at. Although I do kind of like my phone just being in a basket that's on the floor. So when it's charging, it's not even in my brain, right? Out of sight, out of mind sort of situation. So I'm still undecided about that. If any of you have a phone charging station in your home that's not in the bedroom, I would love to hear about it because I'm looking for ideas, of course. And yeah, it's been really a relief, honestly. I'm sleeping better. I'm happier going to sleep. I'm happier waking up because, again, I'm not waking up and being on my phone for fluffing ever. And I have a rule like no phone until after breakfast. So I have to take the time to get up and do my face routine and get breakfast ready and make my cup of tea, etc., etc. And then after all of that is done, and sometimes I have a task to launch into right after that, but then I check my phone. And I just want to say something about this quick. There is still that element of anxiety that I'm going to miss something. And that's very real. And I feel like it's a lot of what mobile phones were preaching when they kind of came into my life was that, oh, you can be anywhere and you can call your mom to pick you up. Or, oh man, when texting came out, that was a whole thing. You can text your friend to meet you after school and that kind of stuff. And it was just, oh, you didn't know this, but you were all alone in the world without any contact to society. And ooh, that's scary. And I'm sure this wasn't a thing on purpose. Well, maybe, I don't know. I haven't looked into it. but that sense of fear was definitely intact. And now, even just like, when was the last time you personally left the house to go do something without your phone? Yeah, it might have been a little while. Even Jacob has been not taking his phone to work, and it's just like he feels so great about it. And I've been too. I've been trying to leave my phone at home unless I know I need it for some kind of purpose. Then I try to just in general be less attached to it and just acknowledge, like, I understand that, if I'm out somewhere and I don't have a phone, X, Y, and Z could happen, or maybe I have an audition that, my agent sends to me that I don't get within the first half an hour or whatnot. And as far as career fears and safety fears and life fears, that's a real thing. And I'm not saying like never bring your phone anywhere, because of course it has a purpose, but maybe, if you're just going on a walk, it's a nice day, if you're out with a friend, like maybe leave your phone behind. Give it a try. I've found that this is a whole other thing. And I guess maybe could be a self-care experiment in and of itself. However, I did want to mention that I did do something, and it has to do with this new office space. So, as I have mentioned, my previous analog alarm clock broke, unfortunately. I elbowed it with enthusiasm off of my nightstand, and it never worked again. But instead of throwing it out, I was like, you know what? Like, it's a cute clock. It has those little bells on top, etc., etc. Let me just put it in the office as decor. And it won't work, so it'll keep me from obsessing about what time it is, because I fall into that trap too. And then I was like, you know what? I recently made a picture frame into a whiteboard, which you can write on glass with whiteboard markers, and it works brilliantly. You can actually see it behind me if you're watching on YouTube. It's really easy also. If you see a picture frame you like, I got mine from a thrift store, you just like put a piece of whatever colored paper in it you want, and then you just write on it with a whiteboard marker. Brilliant. And I was like, what else do I have around that has a glass surface? And I was like, oh, you know what? This alarm clock that I have is just kind of hanging out, not doing anything but looking cute, which is fine. But I was like, why don't I turn it into a little whiteboard? What would I want it to say? What would I want it to do? Like maybe something related to a clock. And you can actually see it behind me here. So I ended up writing "It's Breathe O'Clock" on it in hopes that, me obsessively looking at what time it is, specifically putting a broken clock in my office, that instead just putting all of the hands on noon, and every time I glance at the clock, it's a reminder to breathe. And remembering to breathe, as we have found out before on this podcast, is freaking huge. It's just huge. And I mean, yes, it's an involuntary and also voluntary function in your body. I mean, thank goodness we didn't have to think about breathing literally all the time. But I do notice, especially in moments of stress and whatnot, that I kind of just forget to give myself the deep breath that I need. So now, maybe when I'm like, oh my gosh, what time it is, or I'm looking around my office and I glance at the clock, I'm like, oh, right, it's breathe the clock. I should probably do that. I should take a deep breath. You know what? Well, everybody listening, let's do that together right now. Oh, dang, that felt really good. And I wanted to see if just having this piece of functional, cute decor really made a difference. And spoiler alert, it definitely has. And I've started doing other things around my office to kind of make me feel certain ways, perhaps when I drift off from whatever I'm doing. So I've also done this. I have a magnet board over here that has things that I've accomplished on it, like some of the things for my upcoming tea collection that I talked about last week, and my new business cards that I took the time to make, a nice card from a friend, etc., etc. And it's like, you've accomplished these things, you've done these things make you happy, they make you feel good. So if I'm zoning out from working into whatever direction, wherever, I have this nice little landing pad to come to just be like, oh, A, that looks nice, and B, oh yeah, like, you done good, kid. You done good. Or on my new whiteboard over here, I've written at the bottom, Bouse Lady, and you got this written in a heart. So again, when I like zone out, yes, it has my to-do list for the day, but also I'm like, oh right, yeah, I'm a boss lady. I'm doing the thing. So more specifically and in summary, I've been surrounding myself with things like positive affirmations in the more physical, tangible sense, which I hadn't really done before. Some people use sticky notes on their mirrors. Some people do this or that. And I have just been really digging it, and it makes me want to work in this space, and it makes me want to get things done, and I feel a lot less bogged down by the end of it. So, have fun, pro tip, do good things, and yeah, let's move on. Community news. Welcome to Community News. This is the part of the podcast where we give you good news from you, the listeners. On social media, I do a little shout out every week at Miss Mary Lou on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of the places. And then I pick some community news from you, give you a little shout out, and celebrate your general awesomeness. This is the highlight of my freaking week. And funny enough, I definitely did not put a shout out on social media until an hour before recording this. So shame on me. Whoops. So don't forget to just send me your good news throughout the week as it happens also, because that's my bad. Air whale, we're making it work. You know what I mean. Let's start off. This first one is from Twitter. This is from Panda Angel Creations, my friend Amanda. Hi, Amanda. And she says, I introduced a new friend to both card making and modern board games, and she loved both. Yes! Whoa, hello. That was so excited my vocal cords didn't know what to do with themselves. Amanda herself is just phenomenal crafter. She makes her own greeting cards and numerous other things. I have so many fabulous cards in my house from Amanda, and they bring me so much joy, and they're so stunning, and it takes so much time. And Amanda and I also play board games a lot, either together on our own and whatnot. And I really, really love this because you're taking two things that are so near to your heart, that bring you so much joy, and you're sharing it with other people. You're teaching them something new, something you just super enjoy, and if they like it like your friend did, that's just a big bonus there. So you're a sharing wizard. Heck yeah. Yeah, I'm just like, this is so great. Love what you love and then share it into the world. Yes. This next one was submitted anonymously, and they said, this past week I have finally started therapy and started taking antidepressants. Claps for you. I would actually clap, but I don't want to bust your eardrums. This is huge. You are taking monumental strides in your whole being an entire person process. It is so it can be such a struggle, especially with the healthcare situation in our country, to figure out, does your insurance cover mental health services? How do you even get them if they do? And how can you even get into an office if you find someone that's covered or not, or whatever? Oh, it can be a lot. And there's a lot of fear and anxiety sometimes that can come from reaching out and really making those things happen for yourself. So You are a brave warrior wizard, okay? This is no small feat. Y'all have like gotten to the peak of the secret quest and you're doing the things. And I know how much work this can be because I myself have recently gone through this, starting antidepressants with my doctor and also starting therapy, and it was not an easy journey to get there. And I'm so sorry that that's a thing. That it can be really difficult, not just, whatever you may be feeling about it, but just dealing with the healthcare system. So, you're a wizard. I'm so, so happy for you. I'm proud of you for being your own advocate for yourself, for your health. I'm proud of you from being persistent and seeing it through to this point. And no, the journey is not over, obviously. Once you get in therapy and your body starts adjusting to a medication, then you got a bit of a road. It's all a journey, but the fact that you made it this far, like you are a warrior. And those of you that have been listening for a while know that I am a huge supporter of seek help. You're worth it. Seek help, you're worth it. Antidepressants, therapy, or some kind of medication in general, whatever works for you under some kind of professional supervision, you got this. You can do it. Everybody's different, Some people don't respond to therapy well and medication is all they need and vice versa, or they need both like myself. And it's such a good thing. It's such a good thing. And I wish there wasn't such a stigma around all of this. That's why I talk about it so much. You seek help. You're worth it. Seek help. You're worth it. Seek help. You're worth it. I gotta get this on like a bumper sticker or something to sell. Because like seeing that just randomly during the day would certainly be just like uplifting for my little heart. And the last bit of community news today, I am going to hijack again. I hope you all don't mind that I do this. I also did do my shout out quite late and only got a couple of responses, so also my bad. But the reason I was so behind on all of this stuff is because I don't know if you've noticed if you are watching, I'm a little more dolled up today. I got my hair did, some mascara on, a nice shirt. I had an audition pop up today, kind of out of the blue, honestly. I have not done any on-camera work for anyone else, like other than myself or the digital space, for quite a while. And not to say I threw in the towel eventually, I just have been choosing, because of circumstances and passions and all the things in life, decided to focus on other areas like voiceover and creating things for YouTube and for the podcast. And I got a couple phone calls and an email yesterday. Someone had recommended me for an on-camera audition, which does have a large voiceover component to it. But there is still an on-camera element that I had to go and audition for today. And obviously I can't say what it's for or anything like that. As soon as you get an audition, you're basically under NDA, if not literally under an NDA. But it's a super fun job that is so close to my heart, that is with a dream company. Like a dream company to work with. I know a lot of people that have worked for them, and I've heard nothing but just fantastic, wonderful things. I know some of the people involved in the company that work there full time, and they are just my people, and I adore them. And I have no idea who recommended me for this audition, because I don't have representation for on camera at this point. Hence, I've chosen to focus elsewhere. But yeah, I got a phone call saying, hey, did you get my email? You came highly recommended and we really want you to go. And I was like, oh, let me take a look at that and I'll be there. And I just got back before I started recording. And I just went in and I had fun. Obviously, a lot of the times with audition for myself and a lot of other actors, it's work your butt off like you've prepared the part, like you've already landed the role. kick butt, be yourself in the audition, because you can't be anything else. That guessing game of trying to like figure out what they want you to be, it's just too much. You're you. Just go in, be you, and then when I walk out, I kind of forget it ever happened, because there's always going to be another audition. And also, doing the whole waiting by the phone thing for a job is not a practice that I like to do. I've trained myself not to do that if I can help it, because how many people did they see for this thing? So many. And I just try to enjoy the fact that I had a fluffin' blast in front of the camera today. I got to act for somebody else and even sing. And it was just really super fun. And if I get it, great. And if I don't, great. It was just great. I'm a wizard. There we go. Good news, everyone! It's good news! Welcome to the part of the podcast where I dig into the depths of the interwebs to find some kind of good news article. Again, it is important to stay informed in the happenings of the world, but it is not good to let it bog you down to the point where you can't function as a human being. I have definitely been there. So today's article is a little bit more on the sciencey side, how much I love some science, and it's not necessarily a typical positive article per se. However, I think the perspective that it brings to light has been incredibly enlightening and can therefore give us better practices to cope with such things. So without further delay, the article is simply titled, "Procrastination is an Emotional Problem. If you stop treating procrastination like a time management issue, it becomes easier to manage." So for a lot of us, we think of procrastination as some kind of, oh, I just didn't leave enough time to do this, or, oh, I'm just lazy and that's why I can't get this done. There's a lot of self-blame involved, and this and that and the other thing. Like, oh, I'm just not good with time. Oh, I just put things off. Oh, etc., etc., etc. But it is not any of these things, friends. It is actually an emotional problem. There have been a lot of studies done to back up this information. For example, there is substantial information about the correlation between procrastination and depression, because the whole cycle we put ourselves through leads to short-term satisfaction at the knowing loss of long-term satisfaction. So we choose not to do the thing now to make us feel good for X amount of short time. And, like, we're all aware, if we just do the thing, we feel better about it, right? But the whole process of short-term satisfaction at the knowing sacrifice of long-term satisfaction is, in fact, an emotional issue. And the article explains the cycle something like this. We sit down to do a task, we project into the future about what the task will feel like, we predict that the task will not feel good, like it'll stress us out or make us feel bad, etc. Our emotional coping strategy kicks in to keep us away from the bad feeling we think we will experience, and then we will avoid the task. I don't know why I've never freaking thought of this before. You're listening to it, it's like, oh, duh, it's an emotional response. It's nothing to do with like me being lazy or me just being bad at timing things out in the day. Like, no, it's an emotional response. You are protecting yourself. It's a very natural feeling. You are protecting yourself from what you think is going to be a bad experience, which overrides the fact that having it done will be good, and then you won't have to worry about it anymore. And I have really, really struggled with procrastination about things. Like, for example, when I was in high school, I went through a long period of being homeschooled in and out because I was very ill. And I had this one paper assigned while I was still in class as a sophomore. okay? This was for a sophomore English class in high school. And then I was out sick through most of the rest of the year. I talked to the teacher and he was like, yes, you can have an extension. And then I proceeded to ignore said paper until I was close to graduation as a senior. As a senior. And wow, can I tell you that that paper ate me up inside? I lost sleep about it all the dang time. I didn't forget about it. Oh, no, no. But I just didn't do it. I put it off for so long and it just ate away at me. And I find that with things too. Like I just get overwhelmed. I have a lot happening. And then I'm just like, oh God, being on the phone for this thing is just gonna like be the worst and I hate it. And then I put it off and then it hangs over my head. And realizing that like this is an emotional response. And you can treat emotional responses and respond to them better. For instance, there was another study done where it found that there were significant positive correlations between procrastination and rumination, and negative correlations between procrastination and both mindfulness and self-compassion. So, that's kind of a little sciencey term kind of thing. So what does that mean exactly? So by rumination, they mean one type of ruminative thinking, for example, is feeling guilt. And this is a big one, right? So dwelling on that feeling of guilt and having guilt be a big default setting when you don't do something or something goes wrong, we say, I'm sorry all the dang time because it's just a habit. I have been trying really hard to break that habit. So people that ruminate more, possess more feelings of guilt, there tends to be a connection there between procrastinating and heavy rumination, especially where guilt is concerned. And then there's the whole negative correlation between people that practice mindfulness and self-compassion. And those people that practice those things tend to procrastinate less. And this makes a lot of sense, right? You're maybe trying to work on not feeling so guilty, not beat yourself up so much about it. You take care of yourself. You're able to acknowledge, oh, X, Y, and Z was not my fault. Oh, I'll feel great when this is done. Let's do that. And just being kind to yourself, right? Being kind to yourself is much more likely to help you be productive and to not procrastinate as much, as well as mindfulness, which is practicing things like meditation, for example, being able to really sink yourself into the moment and observe what is around you and just be there. I love this, and I have noticed since starting this podcast, and I've kind of been on this whole Mary is no longer a negative human thing. And I mean, yeah, I still have a lot of default tendencies, but like definitely coming from a place as a pessimist. Since I've been doing this podcast and doing the self-care experiments and sharing in your good news and listening to good news articles, I have been procrastinating a lot less. Like there are definitely obviously some old habits die hard for me. I don't know why. The phone calls, man. Phone calls just get me. Obviously, you can hear it in my voice. It definitely still has an effect on me, and I'm working on that. I'm a human being, But for other things in general, I've just been a lot better at not procrastinating, and it is amazing the amount of stress that has left my freaking life. So I really wanted to bring this up as good news. It's not like, oh, someone got a puppy and changed the world kind of stuff, which, I love me a good puppy changes the world story. I live for those. Oh, that article we talked about with dogs living in IKEA. I can't even. But I love this article because it just completely shatters my perspective about the whole procrastination thing. And we have so many tools that we've talked about on this podcast about self-care and mindfulness. There's a whole freaking segment dedicated to self-care. So if you are someone who struggles with procrastination, which hands up, that's most of us, right? Try looking at it from this perspective. It just blows my mind, and it makes so much sense, and it has helped me a lot. And now when I feel that little kind of feeling creeping in, that dread, that feeling, it helps a lot. I filled out a written interview yesterday that I had been putting off for like a freaking month. And it was an interview, like something that's supposed to be fun, like talk about your business and yourself and your life. And I had just been putting it off. And when I did it, I had fun. And now I just feel great. And like, there you go. All right, my friends, my darlings, my dear beloved listener wizards. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this week's podcast. I think this is probably a good place to wrap it up. Of course, we still have our Patreon page going. That has been so lovely. We have 5 wizards, which is really spectacular. My goal is to hit 10 wizards, and then we will have a wizards only live stream over on Patreon. And then other goals, like when we hit 25, I'm going to launch a pin and all kinds of fun stuff. So if you want to help support positive content, make it a more sustainable endeavor for myself, I would love if you joined me. I'm at Miss Mary Lou, just like all the other places. And I think you're wonderful. And I love you so very much. And I hope that you have a wonderful week. And I'll see you next Thursday. This podcast is lovingly produced, directed, written, and created by yours truly, Miss Mary Lou Ryan. Our music was composed and performed by Jacob Kahn. Our logo designed by Hilda Meyer Post. And if you'd like to spread a little positivity into the universe, I would love wherever you are tea partying with us to spread the words with those who could use a little cheer in their cuppa. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week.